Thank you to CuriosityStream for partnering with me on today's video. Hello. Hi there. Hello and welcome. Hello. Hi. Welcome. Cardi B has won a $4 million settlement in her defamation lawsuit against YouTuber Tasha K. But this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Cardi B's legal troubles. Let's talk about this lawsuit as well as all of the other legal conundrums of Cardi B. If you're new here, my name's Leeja. I'm a real-life lawyer on a mission to demystify the law and how it affects your everyday life. That being said, I may be a lawyer, but I'm not your lawyer. Nothing that I say should ever be construed as legal advice. You should always seek the advice of a licensed attorney before making any legal decisions. Okay, let me just preface this by saying I love Cardi B for pushing the envelope when it comes to music and representation. I think she's a bad bitch. I think she doesn't give a fuck in the most endearing way. This is not meant to be a dig on Cardi B. This is simply because I like to take pop culture and current events and analyze the law behind them as a learning experience for all of us. This is also part of a larger celebrity lawsuit series that I'm doing. Don't forget to check out the ones I've already done on Lizzo, Taylor Swift, and Kesha. Comment down below if you have ideas for other celebrities you'd like me to cover. Now listen, the reason why I love diving deep into current events and pop culture is because I am a curious kitten, okay? And I know that you guys are as well. That's literally why you're here, and I'm just trying to give the people what they want. Okay? What's exciting is that my partner in today's video knows how curious we all are and is just trying to fill that need with tons and tons of interesting content. So thank you so much to CuriosityStream for partnering with me on today's video. Okay, CuriosityStream is great because frankly, honestly, if I can be honest with you here, my favorite genre of film is documentaries. I love being shown information in interesting and captivating ways, just like I love to try to do the same here on this channel. And CuriosityStream absolutely delivers. It's a platform that has thousands of entertaining documentary movies and TV shows about literally anything under the sun. History, nature, science, food, technology, space, aliens. There is so much content for you curious little brains. If you've come here to learn more about Cardi B's lawsuits, you might be interested in music or even true crime. They have both. You could watch a movie about Elvis Presley or LCD Sound System and then pop right on over to the true crime section where you can learn about white-collar crimes, drug cartels, or the one that I'm watching right now, bone detectives. These ladies find old-ass bones and then try to piece together the lives of the humans behind those bones. I'm currently watching the episode where they find these bones from the Bronze Age, and one of them appears to be an old lady pointing at something. What the hell? So whether you're here for music, the law, or you're just a curious kitten ready to learn, CuriosityStream is right up your alley. What's even more thrilling is that CuriosityStream has a fun offer for all of my viewers. Go to the link in the description below and use the code LeejaMiller to get a full year of CuriosityStream for $14.99. There is absolutely no way you could ever get through all the content that they offer in 1 year. They offer thousands of movies and TV shows that can be streamed to any device from anywhere at any time. They're the Netflix for nerds, the Hulu for history buffs, the Disney Plus for the scientist in all of us. So go ahead and get your curiosity on with CuriosityStream using the link in the description down below and code LeejaMiller to get a full year of CuriosityStream for $14.99. Thanks, CuriosityStream. Okay, Cardi B. Who the heck is she? She was born October 11th, 1992, making her a Libra. She's about to celebrate her 30th birthday. Moira. She was born in the Bronx, New York. Cardi B was employed at a deli, and then after being fired, she applied for a job at the strip club across the street. She gained notoriety on social media on her Instagram and Vine around 2015, got a gig on the VH1 reality series Love and Hip Hop, and then from there she dropped a couple mixtapes, and then her first album, which included Bojack Yellow, which is the song that skyrocketed her to fame. That's also when the legal troubles ensued, as is usually the case. Okay, so I'm gonna try to hash out the major legal issues in chronological order, because frankly, my friends, we've got a lot to get through. And I know that there are more lawsuits than I'm even able to cover because we don't got all day, all right? We've got assault, defamation, torts of all sorts, battles with managers, legal battles over tattoos. Yes, my friends, Cardi B has been through the ringer. Let's start with the furthest back that I could find. Let's start with the 2018 bar brawl. So it's 2018, Cardi B, she's at a strip club in Flushing, New York, in Queens. It's called Angel's Strip Club. She's hanging out there with her entire entourage, and then a fight breaks out. Why? Because she hears that one of the bartenders may or may not have had a sexual relationship with her husband. All hell breaks loose. Bottles are thrown. Chairs are thrown. Allegedly, a hookah pipe is thrown. 2 employees were injured. Cardi B, she gets arrested. She gets charged with 14 criminal counts, including assault and reckless endangerment. And it's alleged that she planned the whole attack on the bartenders with her entourage. But she pleads not guilty. So because of this, Cardi could face up to 4 years in prison. And this is an ongoing case, even though it happened back in 2018. So after pleading not guilty, she ended up getting an offer from the prosecutors that if she pled guilty, they would lower the charge to a misdemeanor and let her off without jail time. She refused, didn't accept it. Potentially against the advice of her attorneys, because that sounds like a pretty sweet deal to me. But as a person's attorney, you have to do whatever they want, and it sounds like she did not want to plead guilty, so she didn't. So like I said, this is ongoing. Back in October, she had a hearing, but I cannot for the life of me find any documentation about what happened during that hearing. But she has another hearing scheduled for February 4th, so that appears to be ongoing. Okay, so that's number 1. Okay, so that was in 2018. Also in 2018, we have a multi-million-dollar lawsuit filed by her former manager, Shaft. So this was filed in 2018, and it basically held up a lot of Cardi B's music career and the funds she was earning from it until it settled in December 2020. So here's basically what went down. Her manager, his name's Shaft. His real first name is 𝗪𝗓𝗏. He sued her in the Southern District of New York along with a hairdresser / makeup artist named Patience Foster, along with her managers Kevin Coach K Lee and Pierre P. Thomas, like P-E-E. P is his nickname. And then he also sued their management companies, Quality Control, and Solid Foundation Management. So he sues them for a lot of things: breach of contract, tortious interference with contract, 𝗦𝗪𝗡𝗏𝗧𝗦, which just means pay for services rendered, and defamation. So the subject of these lawsuits are these agreements that Cardi B signed with Shaft for him and his management companies to be her management and recording companies. So allegedly she entered into a deal with him and his companies, and then he got her a record deal with Atlantic Records. But then Cardi goes off, finds some new management, and enters into some contracts with Coach K and P. And he says that these parties actually interfered with her ability to perform under the contract that she already had signed with Shaft. The Shaft? Shaft. And he says that they knew all along that she had entered into these other agreements with Shaft, and therefore they did so knowingly. As an aside, this reminds me a lot of what happened with Kesha and Dr. Luke, and it makes me wonder if this is kind of a common thing that happens in the music industry. I don't know, I'm not an expert, but it kind of sounds like artists will sign with one management company and then kind of start to blow up and get signed with someone else. And it's one of two things. It's either they don't realize that they signed something else while they enter into a different agreement, or they make a conscious business decision that it's like in their best business interest to breach the contract, and any sort of legal ramifications of that are still going to be outweighed by the amount of money they could earn by entering this other contract. I don't know how this works, but it seems to be a common theme. He also claims that Cardi B defamed him by repeatedly saying that she was being robbed by Shaft. Apparently, Patience Foster, the hairdresser, also said things to Cardi B about Shaft robbing her, so that's why she's embroiled in this lawsuit as well. So basically in this lawsuit, Shaft is saying, like, I made Cardi B who she was. It was my knowledge and expertise that spotted her, found her, and made her into the star that she is. She had maybe 100,000 Instagram followers when I found her. I could see that she had star potential. I was the one that got her into all of the entertainment industry. She didn't have any music experience before me. I'm the reason she is where she is today. But then she breached the contract we had entered into, and I'm due a lot of money as a result. And he's saying that Patience, the hairdresser, as well as Coach K and P all ganged up on Cardi B to really induce her to breach this contract and convince her that Shaft was robbing her. Plus, that deal with Atlantic Records, she ended up releasing it as her album Invasion of Privacy in 2018, but she did that through the agreement that she had with Coach K and P. They made a lot of money, and he says that he should have that money instead. So Cardi B is really doubling down publicly on saying that Shaft robbed her, and Patience is as well. In fact, Patience goes so far to say that he made a bunch of money off of her because he told her that gigs were paying a lot less than they actually were, and he just pocketed the extra money. Okay, so what's fun about lawsuits is there's more than one side to every story, and usually you get to hear all of them. So after this lawsuit is filed, Cardi got the chance to file what's called an answer, which is a typical response to a complaint, and boy did she, 110 pages of answers. And she also made some counterclaims against them, meaning that she not only answered the claims he had against her, but she also made some claims against him as well. I did not read all 110 pages of the answer, I will not lie to you, but here's the gist of what I gathered from it. So she claims that Shaft was controlling of her and that he actually breached the terms of the contract they had together. Not only that, but he breached his fiduciary duties to her by not acting in her best interest. So she claims that she she initially entered into these agreements with Shaft at 22 when she didn't know anything about the music industry and that he took advantage of this ignorance. According to her answer, he double dipped, meaning that he had her sign one agreement with him and his management company, and then he made a separate company for the recording agreement with Atlantic that he then had her sign another agreement with. So he was taking 20% through the first agreement and then another 20% through the second agreement. It also says that he did this without negotiating the terms with her and without advising her to have a lawyer review it. She says that it wasn't Shaft's ingenuity, but it was actually her own talent and grit that got her where she is today. And she said that the terms of the contract that she signed with Shaft were unconscionable, including a provision that beyond the 5-year term of the contract, he would continue to get payment for a total of 10 years, which Cardi claims is grossly unfair, especially in light of the fact that she didn't have independent legal counsel to advise her when she signed it. And it says that Cardi did eventually get an independent business advisor who asked Shaft and his companies to provide an accounting of all of the gigs that she played and the money that she's made for them, and they just didn't do it. Or when they did, it was like half answers or nothing that was a thorough bookkeeping of the money that she had made over the years. Okay, so in addition to this, she also made counterclaims against Shaft and actually said, no, he owes me $10 million. Okay, so those are the two sides, and that was back in 2019, and then the litigation entered what's known as the discovery phase, which is where the parties exchange information and evidence and try to build their cases against one another. And honestly, the docket for this case, which I've linked down below, is like the reason why I tapped out of being a litigator. 90% of your job happens in discovery, and it's all just bickering amongst lawyers saying, I object to the way he asked this question. I object to the way she answered this question. I object to the way that he produced these documents. These documents weren't produced properly. They're not going fast enough. They're delaying. They're making this hard for us. It's fighting amongst adults. And you go to the judge being like, Mom, you should sanction him. And this goes on for months and months. It's a mess, okay? And then after much squabbling, literally years of it, the parties ended up settling in December 2020. They agreed to dismiss the claims against each other with prejudice, meaning that they can never bring this back up again in court. And they each paid their own attorney's fees, which basically means Cardi B is free because she can't be sued again for this same contract. And the contract terms ended already, so she's free to do what she wants. And because of this, a lot of money was held up that she, I assume, got a big check for after the lawsuit was settled, because it couldn't be paid out to her yet because there was an ongoing legal battle as to who it was actually owed to. So Cardi probably got a big fat paycheck, which made those attorney's fees go away pretty easily. All right, that's that. Moving on. So this trial that just ended last week for Cardi B, the original lawsuit was actually filed back in 2019, but we're gonna save it for a little bit later, okay? Just pin that in the timeline. Then we move to 2020. We have another lawsuit filed in 2020 against Cardi B by some Long Island beachgoers. This lawsuit was filed in New York State Court in September 2020, and it's filed by a group of people who claim that Cardi B, her sister Hennessy, and her sister's girlfriend maliciously attacked them on a beach in Long Island. All because one of the plaintiffs was wearing a MAGA hat, like Make America Great Again. So I got my grimy hands on this complaint, and frankly, it's a little wild. I've linked it down below, but here's what they claimed. So we've got Peter and Pauline Caliendo. They're just minding their own damn business. They're at the beach, they're having a nice time. They're at Smith Point on Long Island in September 2020. They had a beach tent that they'd popped up, and they'd very innocently attached this flag. What type of flag? Well, according to the complaint, it was a flag that symbolized the police. I assume it's a Blue Lives Matter flag, you know, the one with the flag with the blue stripe in it, because nothing says beach vacation like glorifying an institution built to uphold white supremacy. Yes, I am biased. Yes, you can show yourself out if you have a problem with that. They also said that there was a Trump flag on a truck somewhere near where the Caliendos were hanging out on the beach. Didn't say it was theirs, but it was near them. It's unclear what's going on there. So according to the complaint, Cardi B's sister Hennessy rolls up in this Mercedes with her girlfriend, and they park in a truck in the parking lot. But they also weren't licensed to be there, because apparently you need a license to be on whatever beach they were on. And they park in this guy named Alarcón. He's got his pickup truck there, and they pull in right behind him. As they're doing that, he's starting to approach because he's ready to leave the beach. Peter Caliendo also approaches because he wants to tell Cardi B's sister Hennessy that she's parked in Alarcón. Very innocent, okay? Alarcón also happens to be wearing a MAGA hat. So we've got Blue Lives Matter, we've got big Trump flag, we've got guy approaching with a MAGA hat, okay? These guys are approaching them. Then the complaint says that at this point, Cardi B's sister sprints up from the beach holding a phone and recording them. If you're confused, so am I. She rolls up in her Mercedes, and they start approaching to tell her that she parked them in, but she's also over here on the beach and runs up on them with her phone. I don't know what happened between her parking and getting out. It's hard to follow. This complaint is truly written like how someone would write a complaint who had never read a complaint before in their life and was just trying to make it sound as legalese as possible without actually knowing how to make something be in real legalese. Like, not only is it ridiculously written, it's also riddled with typos. Then it says that 𝗦𝗫𝗖𝗓, which is Cardi B's sister again, she yells threats at the plaintiffs. The complaint also says, and I quote, "When defendant 𝗦𝗫𝗓 Carolina was in approximately an arm's length from Peter Caliendo and Alarcón, defendant 𝗦𝗫𝗓 Carolina sprayed her copious spittle upon said plaintiffs as she raged and stated said threats, foul and intimidating language, and defamatory statements at said plaintiffs." It goes on to say, defendant 𝗦𝗫𝗓 Carolina knew or should have known that her spraying of spittle upon plaintiffs at a time when COVID-19 virus infection was a nationwide threat to all persons in the US was assaulting, threatening, and intimidating to said plaintiffs. You truly can't make this shit up. That's right, MAGA supporting Trump lovers sued Cardi B and her sister for assault and battery because of spittle that could have infected them with COVID-19. It goes on to claim that the plaintiffs suffered and continue to suffer fear, anguish, and mental and emotional distress. So the claims include assault and battery, as well as prima facie tort, which isn't a thing. I think they mean negligence, maybe intentional infliction of emotional distress. I truly cannot tell based on the way that this complaint is written. Also slander and libel, which is spoken defamation and written defamation because of what was said to them, and also subsequently posted on social media because of course there was a video that was subsequently posted on social media, which the plaintiffs claim that Cardi B edited before putting it on social media. Okay, and I will note that mere name calling does not usually rise to the level of defamation. There has to be some sort of fact being shared, because one of the elements of defamation is that it can't be true. An opinion isn't true or false, it's just an opinion. So 𝗦𝗫𝗓 calling Caliendo Pink Man, Santa Claus, and Kevin, while funny, is not necessarily defamatory. Is not really a fact that can be proven or disproven, you know what I mean? There were definitely other threats that they alleged in this complaint though that could have been potentially seen as defamation. Calling him stupid, calling him a racist. They might have a stronger argument there, but they included all of the name calling, which seemed a little goofy. Okay, then in February 2021, so a number of months later, Cardi B files a motion to dismiss, basically saying that they were just trying to get her money when they sued her. None of this actually happened, they're just trying to get a piece of that sweet, sweet pie. She also claims that they, again, were just name calling and opinions and that it wasn't defamatory in nature. The motion to dismiss says the remedy for thin skin is thicker skin, not a lawsuit. And based on Cardi's side of the story, her social media posts and what Cardi has said afterwards, her side of the story is that they were harassing her sister and telling her to go back to her country. Okay, and that brings us to today, the Tasha K lawsuit that ended in a verdict in Cardi B's favor last week. Let's get into the tea on that one. Let's get into the details, all right? Okay, so we know who Cardi B is, obviously, but who is Tasha K? Okay, Tasha K's full name is Latasha Transrena Keeb Tasha K. She's a YouTuber who makes gossip videos here on good old YouTube. She does so on a channel called Unwind with Tasha K. Okay, so she's a celebrity gossip YouTuber, and she started putting out a lot of videos about Cardi B, saying a lot of stuff that it turns out wasn't true. So Cardi B sues her, along with a woman named Star Marie Jones, both of them for defamation. I've linked the entire amended complaint down below so you can read it, but basically the gist of it is that Tasha K posted a bunch of videos about Cardi B starting in April 2018 saying really defamatory things about Cardi, including things like that her child, because she was pregnant at the time, would be born with intellectual disabilities because of the things that she was doing. She also claimed that Cardi B had herpes on numerous occasions. She said that Cardi B was a prostitute. She said that Cardi B had herpes. She said that Cardi B did cocaine and Molly. She posted 38 videos over the course of 18 months, all about Cardi B. You know how much work that is? Oh my God. And the way that Star Marie Jones fits into this is that she allegedly knew Cardi B before she became a star and was feeding this information to Tasha K. And they really doubled down on these accusations. Like, they repeated things over and over and over again on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter. It was a lot. And there was some damning evidence of Tasha K admitting that what she was saying probably wasn't true, or she knew that it wasn't true, or that maybe Star Marie Jones was lying. That's pretty damning. And let's get into why. Let's talk about defamation. We've done this, what, like 25 times? Talk about defamation, okay? Let's do it again, because repetition is key to learning, and these things are a dime a dozen, especially when it comes to the rich and the famous, all right? So defamation, it's an umbrella term that includes both written and spoken defamation. Written defamation defamation is also known as libel. Spoken defamation is also known as slander. Cardi B sued Tasha K for both because she did both. The elements for proving a defamation case are as follows. A defamatory statement that the defendant shared with a third party, either verbally or in writing or via publication of some kind, and that statement was untrue and it harmed the reputation of the plaintiff. Like the plaintiff suffered damages of some sort. Okay, but then there's a catch where a defamatory statement relates to a serious crime, like taking illegal drugs, for example. The plaintiff, Cardi B in this case, does not have to prove damages. You see, when someone is accused of a serious crime, like doing drugs, damages are presumed, meaning that damage to reputation is assumed, because obviously if someone's spreading that rumor about you, it's gonna damage your reputation. This is what's known as defamation per se, and usually when lawyers add the words per se at the end of some sort of legal theory, it means in itself, meaning that they don't have to prove damages happened, we can assume damage has occurred. You know what else weirdly and specifically falls under defamation per se? When you make a defamatory statement about someone having a venereal disease, like herpes. There is so much shame and stigma around STIs in this country that we have made it defamation per se that if someone says that you have one of these diseases, you automatically are presumed to have suffered some sort of damage to your reputation. Bad news for Tasha K, who you'll remember said that Cardi B had herpes. Okay, so because Tasha K said Cardi B used hard drugs and also had a venereal disease, Cardi B did not have to prove any actual damages, they were presumed. So she just had to prove that the statement was made, that it was published to a third party, and that it was untrue. And with cases like these, it's often the last prong, that it was untrue, that is the most difficult to show. So let's add another element here though. So to prove defamation, the plaintiff has to show that the statements made about them, the defamatory statements, were untrue. This changes a little bit when the plaintiff is a public figure. What the heck is a public figure? Well, that's changed over the years because of the advent of the internet. People get 15 minutes of fame. People go on YouTube and get a bunch of subscribers. Who counts as a public figure? The general definition given to us by the Supreme Court is that someone who is a public figure is someone who has assumed roles of a special prominence in the affairs of society, so like politicians, for example, or someone who has thrust themselves into the forefront of particular public controversies in order to influence the resolution of the issues involved. And it's expanded to usually include celebrities. Basically, defamation comes down to this balancing act. We don't want to infringe on someone's First Amendment right to free speech by telling them that they can't say disparaging things, especially about people in power. We want people to be able to have open discourse about people in power so that we can critique them. And obviously sometimes when public discourse happens, there may be untruths that are shared, but we shouldn't stymie public debate about our public figures with the fear that any single thing you get wrong that you say could potentially lead to a lawsuit. Okay, so if someone counts as a public figure, they not only have to show that the statement made about them was untrue, but also that it was made maliciously, meaning that the defendant made the statement knowing, or probably should have known, that what they were saying was not true, or with complete disregard for the truth. So Cardi B really leaned in her complaint to the maliciousness of Tasha K's defamation against her. So Cardi B sues Tasha K for defamation as well as intentional infliction of emotional distress, which requires outrageous conduct. She also sued her for invasion of privacy because of the information that Tasha K was sharing, put Cardi B in a false light with the intent of causing her reputational harm. Star Marie Jones, you'll remember, was part of this lawsuit, but she ended up moving to New York and they filed a separate lawsuit there against her and actually won that lawsuit last year. Okay, so then Tasha K actually shoots back with counterclaims against Cardi B. She made claims against Cardi B for assault and intentional infliction of emotional distress because she was starting to receive threats due to her defamation of Cardi B. So then eventually Cardi B gets to the summary judgment phase, which is the phase when parties will ask the judge to make a determination in their favor instead of going to trial. Meaning, look at all this evidence we've found. There's no way a jury could ever find in anyone else's favor but mine, so please find in my favor now so we don't have to go through the hassle of going to trial. Cardi B asked for that both as to Tasha K's counterclaims against her as well as her claims for defamation and everything else against Tasha K. And the judge actually threw out Tasha K's claims, basically saying that there's no way a jury could find that you actually defamed her, that you were in any way involved in the threats that she was receiving. However, the judge did not find in Cardi B's favor for her own claims against Tasha K, which is why this moved forward to trial. The main issue being that this is a she said situation, meaning that the jury is going to have to weigh who they believe more, who's more credible, because one party is saying one thing and another is saying a different thing. Plus there's the issue of actual malice, which is very subjective and dependent on the facts, and so this has to go to a jury to figure out the facts. So this is what was on the table at trial. Were the statements actually untrue? Did Tasha K know or have reason to believe that they were untrue, but publish them anyway with malice? And was Tasha K also liable to Cardi B for intentional infliction of emotional distress and invasion of privacy? During the trial, Cardi B took the stand and most notably talked about her anxiety, depression, and suicidal ideation because of Tasha K's actions. And then Tasha K also took the stand in her own defense. So from there, it's up to the jury to make a determination of who they believe. And they believed Cardi B. They found Tasha K liable on all counts. And then they gave Cardi B a giant reward of damages. They gave her $1 million in pain and suffering, $250,000 in medical bills, an additional $1.5 million against Tasha K for punitive damages, like for punishment, and then $1.3 million to cover Cardi B's lawyer's fees, for a total of $4 million in Cardi B's favor. Tasha K has said that she'll be appealing the ruling. My worry is like, where the hell is this money gonna come from? Not only the $4 million that Tasha K now owes Cardi B, and even if she were to appeal that and get that overturned, you've got her own attorney's fees plus the fee of appealing something like this. And like, she's a YouTuber. They can make a lot of money, but according to the internet, which isn't always correct, she's worth about $1.5 million. Obviously not nothing, but obviously not $4 million that she now owes to Cardi B. So it's a win for Cardi B, but whether or not Cardi B will actually ever see the $4 million that Tasha K now owes to her is pretty slim. But for now, it's at least a real windfall for Cardi B, especially considering all of the many lawsuits that she's been facing over the last few years. Oh, but there's one more. That's right, you thought we were done? No. Nay. Not so, my friend, because Cardi B has another trial. This one is honestly the most interesting to me because we've got tattoos, we've got privacy law. You know that I'm a sucker for both of those things. All right, get this. First, let's just start by taking a look at the cover of Cardi B's 2016 mixtape entitled Gangsta Bitch Music Volume 1. Frankly, iconic. I'm sorry. I love this woman. She does not give a fuck. Like she gives a fuck probably about things, but like her attitude is very unbothered in an aspirational way. Okay, so this lawsuit is actually the oldest and longest running of all of the lawsuits we've talked about so far today. So the mixtape came out in 2016, the lawsuit happened in 2017. It was filed by the owner of the back tattoo that you see depicted on the cover of the mixtape. You see the owner of the back tattoo and the man pictured on the cover there, not the same guy. That tattoo was photoshopped onto that man's back for the cover of this album. And the owner of that tattoo, he was pretty pissed about it. So he sues her in 2017 for misappropriation of his likeness and invasion of his privacy. He also sues Shaft, remember, her manager, because he was involved with her when this thing dropped, as well as Shaft's production company. So here's what the complaint alleges. The plaintiff is a guy by the name of Kevin Brophy. He's a family man who formerly worked in entertainment and has had a very distinctive tattoo across his back for over a decade that is readily identifiable in his professional and personal communities, meaning people know him by it. Okay. He also has almost 10,000 Instagram followers. I think he's saying that just to show like how well known he is and his tattoo is. I'm not really sure. Anyway, now he works at a surf shop and is still widely known for his tattoo because part of surfing involves, you know, not wearing a shirt. The complaint doesn't say this explicitly, but he was at one point a tattoo model, which comes into play in a little bit. I don't know why it doesn't say that. So he's saying Cardi B took that tattoo and used it in a sexually provocative way for commercial gains without his knowledge or consent. And he says that his personal and professional life has been damaged as a result. As an aside, the complaint says that the cover art depicts the plaintiff cunnilinguing Cardi B, which is a real word and now one of my least favorite words. So thanks for that. Okay, so he says she misappropriated my likeness for her profit, which is a tort. To prove this tort, misappropriation of a likeness, plaintiff has to show that Cardi B used his identity and that it was to her advantage, commercially or otherwise, that he did not consent, and that he had an injury as a result. Okay, those are the elements. He also is claiming violation of California Civil Code 3344, as well as invasion of privacy. We've talked about this before, but there are a few different torts related to privacy. He's claiming false light here, all right? To show false light, he has to prove the following elements. okay? Meaning the image was used to depict him in a false light, which makes sense here because of the explicitly sexual nature of the image, okay? And he's asking for at least $5 million in damages as a result. Okay, so this happens in 2017. Then Cardi B files a motion to dismiss in the court. The way that these things usually work is a complaint is filed, and then the next thing you do as the defendant is file a motion to dismiss, telling the court to throw the case out before it gets any further. So she files a motion to dismiss for lack of jurisdiction, meaning that this isn't the court where this should be heard, and failure to state a claim, meaning that this complaint didn't allege enough facts to even begin with. Like, the plaintiff just doesn't even have a case here. So Cardi B doesn't live in California, and this was filed in California, and the album was made in New York. So there was a legitimate question about jurisdiction here, but the judge threw out the motion to dismiss for jurisdiction, saying that Cardi B avails herself of California enough. The plaintiff lived in California. The invasion of privacy was targeted at him while he was in California, and the album was sold extensively in California, such that the court has jurisdiction here. What was interesting about this motion to dismiss is that they tried to say that the Copyright Act, the Federal Copyright Act, preempted the claims that he was bringing about his tattoo, basically saying that, like, this is a copyright issue and he's making claims in state court, but this is copyright law, so she had fair use, and the federal law preempts this, so he shouldn't even be allowed to bring this claim at all because this should be under federal copyright law. The judge threw that out, saying, no, this is not a copyright question. This is a question about invasion of privacy and use of his likeness without his permission, which is different than a copyright infringement. And I did notice a number of news outlets commenting on this as though it's a copyright issue. It's not. It is a privacy issue and use of someone's likeness issue. Likeness isn't copyrightable, okay? This is different. And I think that this is smart lawyering, because if it had fallen under the copyright law, I think Cardi B would maybe have a stronger claim as to fair use, meaning I'm using this, I changed the tattoo, it's no longer the original work, and I've changed it enough that it falls under the fair use defense of the Copyright Act. Because the plaintiff didn't claim anything under the copyright laws, Cardi B doesn't have that defense necessarily, okay? So I think that was smart lawyering, and the court agreed, okay? So the motion to dismiss is denied, then the parties move on to that discovery phase that I was talking about earlier. Once discovery closes, then they move on to the summary judgment phase, which, like I said, the parties will look at all the evidence they collected over the course of the discovery, and they'll make an argument to the judge and say, the evidence that we found, there is no way that the other party could prevail. Why don't you declare that I'm the winner now so that we don't have to go through with this trial? So Cardi B moves for summary judgment, asking the court to find in her favor, meaning that she did not violate his privacy in any way, and the court denied it. So there is a defense to the use of someone's likeness that the court has recognized in case law if the image is so transformative that it could be considered fair use. This isn't copyright law, this is judge-made case law based on an invasion of privacy theory. So Cardi B is arguing that she transformed the image so much that it is no longer his likeness, it is transformative enough that it does not invade his privacy. And the judge didn't say that this was a bad argument, the judge just said that this is something a jury needs to determine whether or not it was transformative enough. So the judge couldn't make a determination on that and not send it to a jury. It's too subjective. The order that the judge wrote about the summary judgment motion did highlight some interesting tidbits from the deposition of the guy who made this album artwork. Apparently he was just like this hobbyist that they paid $50 to make this album cover. He sent over a draft with the original back tattoo on the original model. I'll pop that up. And Shaft was like, you know what, put a different tattoo on his back, which is fair, those are ugly. So this guy just Googled back tattoo, found Kevin's back tattoo because, again, he was a tattoo model, copied, pasted it on there, photoshopped it around a little bit, called it a day. So Cardi B is arguing that the transformative nature of taking that photoshopped image, cutting it up and pasting it on this model's back was transformative enough that it is not a use of his likeness, which is questionable. You know, a jury could find either way. So summary judgment was denied, meaning that this thing is moving forward to trial. The trial was scheduled for last October, but Cardi B requested that the court move it to later because she was afraid of traveling due to COVID and because she had just had a baby. However, after that, she was also pictured at Paris Fashion Week. So like, Kevin actually moved for sanctions against her, being like, hello, she's like in Paris, like clearly she's not that afraid of traveling. The court denied sanctions, but it was some extra drama thrown in there. So what ultimately happened is that the trial was scheduled to start February 1st. This week. They have a bunch of expert witnesses coming forward, likely to discuss the transformative use of the work. And we'll see if the jury buys Cardi B's claim that she shouldn't be held liable because her use of the tattoo was transformative. And that, my friends, are some of, but not all of, Cardi B's legal woes. I am exhausted. I'm out of breath. We've been here for what feels like hours. And there's still more that I simply couldn't get to in this time. I'm gonna go have a lie down, all right? Thank you so much for joining. If there are other celebrities you'd like me to make videos about, comment them down below. Thank you once again to CuriosityStream for partnering with me on today's video. Reminder that there is a link in the description down below that you can click on and use the code Leeja Miller to get CuriosityStream for $14.99 for a whole year. Check it out below. Reminder that I offer content creator sessions if you're interested in becoming a YouTuber and content creator. I want to help you out. Just go to my website and set up a session with me today. If you found this video informational or entertaining, please consider giving it a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button if you want to hear more from me. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good day. Goodbye.